Hey family, welcome back for another episode of Lunchbreak Chronicles Podcast. I am your host, Aisha Morgan, and I am just excited that you guys decided to stop back by and hang out with us on your lunch break. I missed you all. I missed you all. I missed you all. I missed you all. And I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for joining us. As I've been talking about and preaching, I have to take my own word of advice, and I had to tuck away for some much needed sensory rest. Yeah, but now I'm back and I'm glad that you guys are here. So for today's episode, I wanted to talk to you all from, I don't even know if it's from a topic or a subject, as much as it is just a thought, okay? What do you do when you face unexpected trials? Right? What do you do when trouble hits your life? When adversity shows up at your doorstep unannounced and uninvited? What do you do? How do you handle it? How do you deal with it? How do you respond? I'm reminded of the scripture, actually James 1, 2 through 4. I can't really say that this is my favorite. I can't say that this is even one of my favorites, but what I can say that this scripture is one that I have to remind myself of. And it hits when I have to remind myself of this, and it's usually when trouble comes a knocking, right? So James 1, 2 through 4 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." It says, "Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." Yeah, let perseverance have its perfect work. And when I think about that, what if I can use my spiritual imagination, it sounds like it's saying, you're going to have to go through some stuff. You're going to have to go through that thing. So many times when we encounter trials, we try to get out of it. We try to figure out how to get out of it as quick as we can, right? Why? Because it doesn't feel good. It hurts. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this. I don't like this, right? And so we want to get out of it, right? The scripture says, "Consider it pure joy." And if I'm real about it, sometimes it's not joyful, which is why we have to be reminded of this word. It says, consider it pure joy. Consider it a good thing when you go through trials and tribulations. Why? Because your faith is being tested. Your faith is being tested, and it produces perseverance. Going through this stuff produces perseverance. To persevere means to continue in an action even in the face of difficulty. To persist. To keep on going. To carry on, to move on, to not to give up, to not to throw in the towel. That's what it means to persist. And so going through different various trials in your life strengthens your faith, so that your ability to move forward and to keep going when you encounter situations that become difficult and hard can be strengthened. I love it when it says, "so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing." I don't know about you, but I want to be mature. I want to be complete. I don't want to lack anything. I want to have everything that I need along in this life. Some of us, we think that we're spiritually mature, but we're really not. Even and you can tell it when we're faced with trials and tribulations, you can tell who's spiritually mature and who's not. It reminds me of, have you ever seen a child throw a temper tantrum or throw a fit, right? Have you been that child throwing a fit? Or do you have one who's thrown a fit? I'm a mother. I remember when my daughter was little, she didn't throw too many fits because she was pretty well behaved, right? But have you been somewhere and you've seen a child throwing a fit, throwing a tantrum because they didn't get what they wanted? Or maybe you've had to tell them no, or maybe you've had to discipline them in a way in which they didn't like. Or maybe you had to correct their behavior in a way that they didn't like, right? Or maybe they found themselves in a situation that they weren't prepared for or they weren't ready for, and they wanted to get out of it. Threw a fit, laying all on the floor, hollering and screaming. Some of it, that's us sometimes. That's us sometimes. Whining, complaining, ready to throw in the towel, ready to give up just because some adversity is upon the waters. That's us. That's us. That's us. Scripture in 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, when I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put away the ways of childhood. When I grew up, I put those childhood thoughts and behaviors behind me. When I grew up spiritually, when I'm no longer on milk, but now I'm on meat, I put those ways of childhood behind me, right? Your first response when trouble shows up is a reflection of what's in your heart. You want to know what's in your heart? You want to know what's truly inside a person? Wait till they encounter some trouble. Wait till they encounter a little bit of adversity, and it'll come out. But my question for you today is, what's in your heart? When you're faced with trouble, when you go through a rough patch or a rough moment, when something happens in your life that you didn't like, maybe perhaps the enemy, threw something your way. Maybe you find yourself in the midst of a storm, right? Or maybe there's just some things that are going on. Maybe it's something that we didn't do, and we found ourselves experiencing the consequences of our actions. I don't know. But what's in your heart? What's in your heart? Do you have a heart that's filled with trust? Do you have a heart that is filled with belief and faith? Do you have a heart that is filled with the promises of Yahuwah? When you find yourself in a difficult situation, do you go to the word? Do you cling to the promises of Yahuwah? Do you pray? Do you praise? Or do you throw a fit? Do you throw a tantrum? Do you start to doubt his word and doubt his promises? What's in your heart? So, how do we prepare? How do we prepare? I think sometimes I have a scripture that I want to read, and I'm going to read it because it could be a lot. I do not memorize it, and you'll see. But I think sometimes we let our guards down. Sometimes we let our guard down. Sometimes we don't, cover ourselves as much as we should. Sometimes we get lax spiritually when scripture tells us to be sober, be alert, be vigilant, because the enemy is roaring around like a lion, seeking whom he may devour, right? But sometimes, we let our guard down. This scripture's this is Ephesians 6:11 through 18. And it says, put on the full armor of Yahuwah so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood. Hear me clearly. It's not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of Yahuwah. He says it again. Suit up, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand, stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all of the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yahuwah, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all of Elohim's people. So in the scripture we see, how do we get prepared? Put your armor on. Suit up and keep it on. Keep it on. Don't get caught off guard out here. Keep praying. Keep fasting. Keep studying your word. Keep speaking your word. The word, not your word, but the word of Yahuwah. Right? Stay connected to him. Spend time with him. Keep the word of Yahuwah on your mind, on your heart, on your lips. Cover yourself. That's how we get prepared. So I hope and pray that this word, this episode was a blessing to you all today. It encouraged me. It really did encourage me. When you're faced with trials and tribulations, what's really truly in your heart? What's truly in your heart? So I hope you all continue to have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to ask you to do me a really quick favor. If you enjoyed the content of this video today, if it blessed you in some kind of way, please like the video. Please make sure that you share it with someone. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We need to get this word out here. I would love it if you would help me to get this word out. Share this podcast, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to press the notification bell so that the next time we air an episode, you will be notified. Y'all take care. Peace and blessings to you all. Have a great day. Shalom.